Hey folks, so a number of you had difficulties with this section of the tutorial 3 patch because of the different use of pack here and slightly more complex use of pack than we'd seen before. But actually that makes it especially important that you understand what pack is doing here, why pack is here, what its function is. So go back to this and make sure that you're clear on what's happening here. So pack literally is an object that puts spaces between things. You send it a bunch of stuff, it puts spaces between them and outputs a list. It does nothing else. It is the simplest of simple objects. It takes 3 words, puts spaces between them, and outputs a 3-word list. It takes 3 numbers, puts spaces between them, and outputs a 3-number list. It has no other function. It's sometimes hard to wrap your head around quite how little it does, and also to see the utility of that. But this is the exercise. This is the key thing to do. So looking at this example, we know that jit.cv.track needs a list that begins with the word set and is followed by 3 integers. The first integer represents which point we're talking about, and the next 2 integers represent where we clicked here in this screen. So we're essentially teaching the cv.jit.track, look for features at this point and track it on point 0 or point 1. I'll step back for a second and say another thing that people have asked me about is, what do I mean when I say the word word? Like I say, this list begins with a word and then has 3 integers. And by word, I literally mean word. The letters S-E-T, set. That's a word. Dog, cat, fish, mouse. These are words. And we're just using words to talk to the computer the same way we use words to send a text message or words to send an email. The max term for a word is symbol. So if someone says symbol, that is exactly identical to word. I mean, I guess with the difference that this is also a symbol. Hi there is a symbol, not a list because it's in quotation marks. So in this case, this symbol is made up of 2 words, whereas a list is also made up of 2 words, but it's 2 separate things. These are 2 symbols, the symbol hi and the symbol there, whereas hi there in quotation marks is a single symbol, hi space there as a single symbol. So that's, I mean, that's the difference of symbols and the difference between symbols and words. So let's look at what's going on here. So first of all, we see that it doesn't work because we don't have a point number 57. Our endpoints is set to 1, so we literally only have a point 0. But if we try and set point 0, it changes to 64. Why is that? Well, we're putting something into this number box, and we just don't want to. I mean, we want to manually set the number. If we have endpoints 3, our points are 0, 1, or 2. There's only 3 points to choose from. So point 89 has no meaning, and we can clearly see, we haven't selected 90 points here, so there is no point 89. You could select 90 points, and that's really interesting to do, to track many features of an image, but we're just not doing that. So if it's not working, just break that connection. Set this to point 0, and that solves one problem. We click the mouse, and now we're not getting any information about where we clicked. It's just 0, 0, 0. So then we take a look at this pack and we say, okay, the point number is the second element here, the second thing in the list. So we're also sending that point number to be the 3rd thing in the list, which we don't want to do. So we just remove that. What do we want the 3rd thing to be in the list? We want it to be the first digit in where I clicked, the X. And what do we want the 2nd thing to be? We want it to be the 2nd digit of where I clicked the Y. So that's what we connect to these last 2 inlets. And here I'm using kind of a function or a helper aspect of pack, which is I'm sending in a list that has the two numbers we want plus a bunch of numbers we don't care about. And since I have 2 integer spots left in my list, it's just going to grab the first 2 and throw away the rest. So now when I click, I get the word set followed by the point number followed by where I clicked. And that's the format that cv.jit.track wants. And and it worked there, And now my tracking is rock solid. And your tracking should be. Like if you're saying, oh, this object is wonky, it doesn't work well, that's why mine doesn't work well. No, look at mine. You can confuse it. But if you give it the clarity that it wants, it will track really clearly. Well, we have 3 points now, so I can track another one here. It's tracking really, really well. Track my 3rd point here. Now it's tracking the positions of these 3 points, and it's not. Yeah, you see, it got a little confused on that green point, and that's because my head doesn't have features, identifiable features that survive movement and rotation. But if I track something better with that point, like this point of my glasses, that has identifiable features. And I'm not saying don't confuse it. I mean, that's a fun thing to do, and we've seen in one of the recent PIMA performances that confusing the tracking can be quite nice effect. But learn how to use it, intentionally first, and then break it. All right, hope that's useful.